This era is fueled by innovation, Black consciousness, and diversity in sound and participation. For many,
this is arguably hip-hop's most creative period, the Golden Era. Covering the period from 1987 through 1984, the series will focus on the Golden Era and cover several specific influential albums and their impact on the hip-hop generation and the generations that followed. Peace. What's going on, people? It's your boy Garland. We're back again this week with another episode of the Golden Era. Like to thank everybody who took a listen to last week's episode. We had a great time discussing Eric B. and Rakim's Paid in Full. I'd like to welcome our producer of our theme and our special guest, DJ Wisdom Beats. We talked about Wisdom Beats' background last week. You know, great producers, produced several artists. He's a hip hop historian. It's just all things hip hop. And so, what's going on, Wiz?
Oh, I'm chilling, man. I'm looking forward to this episode now, man. For real.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I don't think there's probably, to me, a bigger influence on me, or at least politically, than Public Enemy. As a matter of fact, I think I said it last week. In my humble opinion, not only one of the greatest rap album ever made, but one of music's greatest albums, period. I think it stands the test of time with any other album in any other genre as well. And so, you know, we're going to dive into it. As you see, Flavor Flav and my man Chuck D on the album cover. We're going to get into that. But, you know, the year is 1988. And so we're going to kind of start off a little bit like we did last week. And so, peace. Armageddon. It's been in effect. Go get a late pass. Step. This time around, the revolution will not be televised. Step. London, England, consider yourselves. Got some background on that. Reverb. One. Man, that kicked off Public Enemy. Too black. Too strong. Too black, too strong. Now, these words sampled from Malcolm X's historic speech message to the grassroots, set the tone for what many would call the greatest rap album ever. This album, inspired by Paid in Full by Eric B. and Rakim, is recognized for setting a new standard for hip hop production and social commentary. Black consciousness had existed in black music, of course, before with artists like Curtis Mayfield, Gamble and Huff, the Last Poets, Gil Scott-Heron, who, you know, we really look at Last Poets and Gil Scott as a direct link from spoken word to hip hop into rap. But we had not seen it in hip hop up to this point. And so before we get into talking about PE's background and everything, 1988. What were you doing in 1988, brother? Where were you? What were you doing? How old were you?
I was 18 years young.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I graduated from high school, had a hip hop crew. You know, we were doing little shows and, you know, trying to do little performances here and there. And August of 88, I ventured down to Richmond, Virginia. Well, I'm in North Carolina, so I'll say up to Richmond, Virginia, to Virginia Union. So August of 88, I was a freshman. And I was just, you know, coming into my own as far as, you know, black consciousness and, you know, just being aware of, you know, who I am or who I was as a young man and you know, tying it in with the music, the fashion, just that black consciousness. So yeah, definitely 88. When they say 88, you know, it was a great year. It was an excellent year when it came to the culture and the music, everything all fused together. And it was almost like a perfect storm.
Definitely, definitely. 1988, I was 21 years old. I was in my junior year of college. And so 87, what I said, I was finishing up the sophomore year of college. And then that summer when this album came out, this album came out in June of 88. I was going into my actually no, I was actually going into my senior year because 87, 88 was the junior year. And so it was like towards the end of 88, we had already had a couple of the PE singles out. The whole
Mhm.
album drops that summer. As a matter of fact, I'm still trying to get away from the Prince influence because I had a girlfriend at the time and she was a big Prince fan. And so Prince was coming to Hampton Roads. As a matter of fact, he came to the Hampton
The
Coliseum,
Coliseum, right?
and yeah, the Hampton. That's where they have the Hampton Jazz Fest. And so
Hmm.
he came to the Hampton Coliseum, and we slept outside for tickets.
Hmm.
And as we were sleeping outside for tickets that night, that's what you did in 1988. Um, I played the whole PE album. people people was like, you got any Prince over there, buddy? It's
You're like,
like, I just want to hear this black and red side. That's all we want to deal with right now. That's all we thinking about
exactly.
is PE. We think about the silver and we thinking about the black side of the album. And so I
Hmm.
was just straight PE. As a matter of fact, I tell people that summer that album inspired me to read a couple books because they were mentioning people in this music that I knew a little bit, but not I did not know fully. And
Hmm.
so I read Black Muslims in America by this man C. Eric Lincoln to
Hmm.
learn a little bit more about the Black Muslims. I read a book entitled Bloods by this guy named Wallace Terry. He was a Vietnam War reporter, black man, and he wrote a book about black vets in the war. And of course, I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. And so, just to get familiar, and I think I might have even picked up Soul on Ice that summer as well. And so, there's really trying to tool around about Eldridge Cleaver, trying to really get some idea of what are these guys talking about? What is this black consciousness and everything? And so, could definitely say out the rip that PE was, way different than a lot of other crews. And so Public Enemy got its start as a mobile DJ crew, Spectrum
Hmm.
City in Roosevelt, Long Island. They were founded by brothers Hank and Keith Shockley. They were joined by a Delphi University student and Long Island native Carlton Rittenhour, better known as Chuck D to us, as their MC. Spectrum City had a radio show on Delphi's station WBAU that expanded the crew and added Flavor Flav. Flav had a show on there as well, Terminator X, Professor Griff, and producers Eric Vietnam Sadler and Bill Stephanie. In 1986, Spectrum City, they left WBAU to record their debut album, Yo, Bum Rush the Show for Def Jam as Public Enemy. That album did not do fantastic sale wise. I got down here that it went wood in the hood. It was critically acclaimed, but not necessarily moving numbers. But after opening for Beastie Boys and LL Cool J, Chuck D and the Bomb Squad, as we said, inspired by Paid in Full, recorded a single for the Less Than Zero soundtrack that shapes possibly the most influential album, not only in hip hop, but in music itself. And so
Hmm.
let's go a little back and talk about Yo Bum Rush the Show. And so they come on the scene, Yo Bum Rush the Show. You had Public Enemy #1 on that album. You had My Uzi Weighs a Ton on that album. I think Right Starter was on that album because I think
Hmm.
EPMD sampled that later, or somebody else sampled it later. And so Chuck D was rapping about his 87 Cadillac Seville, my 98. He was
No, no, no. It was
rhyming about
the
his 98.
Oldsmobile '98, right?
Oldsmobile 98.
Hmm.
It definitely wasn't a lot of political stuff on there. And one of the things I was thinking about, Chris, was that an album like if that album was made in today's market, maybe we never get a second album.
You
Maybe
won't get a
we
second
probably don't get a Nation That Takes a Millions to Hold Us Back, because that first album didn't do anything.
album.
And so, in a singles environment, you got to have hit singles out the door. Public Enemy might have in this current marketplace, we wouldn't know Public Enemy currently as they are as icons in the music.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, because one thing about that album, um, the main thing that we utilized the album for, it wasn't for listening pleasure. It was
Right.
for a Public Enemy number one. As a DJ, any DJ,
Mm-hmm.
with any semblance of DJ skills would definitely cut up that hood high on there and everything now. So
Right.
that right there, that is still used to this day now. That's probably one of the single most utilized cuts in history, or stabs in history, when it comes to a DJ. So that's the claim to fame for me when it comes to that album. You can see some of the you can see you can see a little bit of potential, but if that album dropped today, they probably would not have had an opportunity to do a second album.
Definitely, definitely. And so they go out on tour with the Beasties, with LL Cool J, and they start keep on working on the music. They're inspired by Eric B. and Rakim. As a matter of fact, one of the things that Chuck said was, well, the album was supposed to come out earlier, talking about Yo Bum Rush the Show in 87, but it was some delays in the label. I think they had to put out Springsteen's album. Then they delayed another album, which pushed that album for a little further back. And so by the time it came out, it sounded old and stale. Because
Right.
by the time, Eric B. and Rakim puts out their thing, they changed the style. So we
Mm-hmm.
talked a little bit about that last week, of how, Rakim definitely changed the style lyrically and how you flow. And so that album, maybe if it comes out earlier, it is in the vein of a Paid in Full, but because it came out later, it seemed a little old after that.
True. True.
um I'm thinking about this though. you know I would say this about that album was that it was ambitious, in the sense that we were still trying to figure out what Flavor Flav was for.
Right.
What was Flavor's part in this group, and how all of this went together. And so them getting out, touring, going to the lab. I think one of the first singles we got was Bring the Noise. Now,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, Bring the Noise was on the Less Than Zero soundtrack. This was a movie, Robert Downey. And I forget who else was in that movie. The movie didn't do all that good, but I think Def Jam had the soundtrack to the movie. And so, going back to Cali, was
Mm-hmm.
on that soundtrack, and the song Bring the Noise. And so we get to really hear about, Chuck as a lyricist, bass, how low
Mm-hmm.
can you go, Death Row, What a Brother
What a
Know,
brother
once
knows.
again back, it's the Incredible, the Rhyme Animal, the Uncannibal, D, Public Enemy, number one, 5-0 said freeze. And I got numb. I mean, we got a whole bunch out of that. I mean, and then we start getting this education about Farrakhan's a prophet, and I think you ought to listen to what he can say to you. What you ought to do is follow for now. Well, we hear about Asada Shakur, and
Mm-hmm.
who she is and what that means, and Joanne Chesimard. Like, who is Joanne Chesimard? I didn't know who Joanne Chesimard. And so when you think of a song like that, how did you feel when you first heard Bring the Noise?
I felt empowered because when I heard it, like you said, it just sparked something from a intellectual standpoint, where that curiosity, because at that time frame, it was just this influx of black power and Nation of Islam teachings and things of that nature. Of course, you had the Nation of Islam aspect coming from Eric Ben Rakim, but this was just something a little different, where this is a little more militant, and I think at that time frame we needed that. And because of our generation that was influenced by that by that whole movement. It just worked perfectly with everything that we were doing. We were trying to be out college educated, or if you weren't going to college, you still had that spark in your mind that maybe I need to go back and maybe buy a book, or maybe go to the library and maybe pick up some of these books.
Right.
So it definitely sparked that intellectual aspect. And then also, individuals were changing their clothing. We were wearing more red, black, and green, or kente cloth type items, and it just was a good melting pot of ideas and music and culture all together at that point.
Definitely. And the drop of Farrakhan, I think, was very influential. Uh, we knew about Farrakhan in terms of, I think Jesse Jackson he had ran in '84. He was running, and Farrakhan made this statement about Jews being against Jesse. They wasn't, and the whole. And then I think Jesse said something about Hand Me Town. Jesse didn't help himself out
He did not one bit.
either.
Mm-mm.
He didn't help himself out either. But this was probably one of the first times we hear about Farrakhan and the influence of NOI in the music.
Mhm.
Definitely, I would say, this music might have led a lot of brothers and sisters to Nation of Islam.
It did. It definitely did. Now
Yeah,
you could just see it now permeate throughout the city. With us being in Baltimore,
definitely.
there were mosques. Like I knew there was the mosque on Garrison Boulevard, I think, over in West Baltimore.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, and I'm
yes.
not sure if that mosque is still there, but my uncle, when we would ride around in West
Hmm.
Baltimore, we would drive past that mosque, almost on a daily basis. So I'm not sure if it's still there or not, but yeah, you definitely saw the numbers increase when it came to individuals going that direction.
Yeah, they used to have the bakery that was right down the street. Oh my God, why I want to forget of the it was like a sub shop that the Muslims ran,
Hmm.
and they used to sell they had strawberry cake. They used to have a whole bunch of things that used to come
Had the
out there.
bean
The fish
pies.
nuggets, they had the bean pies and
Hmm.
stuff. They had a big sign of a pig up on the walls, like beware,
Beware.
public enemy, yeah, the pig and stuff. So yeah, that was kind of like their block and stuff.
Hmm.
And so, with Chuck D talking about Farrakhan's a prophet, and I think you ought to listen to. I mean, let's see. I was in grad school in 1999. I was back at home in Baltimore. I was dating now my wife. And
Hmm.
I was moving towards giving my life to Christ, and but
Hmm.
we were like dating, and so she was like, "All right, well, if you come to church with me, I'll do something you want to do." So Farrakhan was coming on the Stop the Violence tour. And
Hmm.
I was like, all right, I'll go to the little revival with you. You come here, Farrakhan, with me. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, man, we went to what was then the Baltimore Civic Center to hear Farrakhan. And I just tell you, it's probably just an influence of the music and what the
Hmm.
music was saying to us in terms of our political mindset. Another song, Rebel Without a Pause.
Oh my
Now,
God,
that's
yes.
oh yeah. Now, if Bring the Noise was hot, if Bring the Noise was a banger, I think Rebel Without a Pause was probably the next one that definitely um, just took us to the next level in terms of Chuck, getting on the radio, talking about, radio never play me because hip hop wasn't being
Hmm.
played on the radio at that point. On the mix, they just okay me. This is the one where I mentioned I was wrong about the other song, but this is where he talks about being a supporter of Chessie Mart,
Hmm.
recorded and ordered, a supporter of Chessie Mart.
Hmm.
He even throws Barkley up in his Get From In Front of Me. The crown runs for me. I'll throw it
Slam
down
it
your
down your
throat
throat like
like
Barkley.
Barkley. You see my car keys? You'll never get these. They belong to
Hmm.
the 9-8 posse. You want some more, son? You want to get some? Bum rush the door of the store. Pick up the album. Yeah,
Hmm.
man. Come on. So, you
Yes,
know,
sir.
um, they definitely had some songs. And I think, these things kind of kept us until the album came out in terms of the sound. Also, you had Don't Believe the Hype that was in that as well, a critique
Mm-hmm.
of media as hip hop is starting to get covered in kind of mainstream media, your spin magazines,
Mm-hmm.
some of your other kind of new music type magazines. You start to see more and more articles on hip hop coming out. And so, Chuck giving a critique of that as well in terms of, are they really giving balanced coverage to the music and to the genre? Now,
Mm-hmm.
as a producer, let me ask you this, because I would say this was not a dancer's album.
No.
No, this was fast beats. Chuck said they were at least at like 100 and between 107 to 109 BPM. So it was fast, in terms of what they were doing. This was not now Eric B and Rakim. You could whop a little to My Melody.
Mm-hmm.
You could whop to a couple of, it was slow enough that you could kind of do a little dance to. You weren't dancing on this one. And
No.
so
No.
as a producer, not only seeing that they made the music faster, but they were using a hodgepodge of everything. I mean, they used funky drummer ad nauseum through this, but they were using pieces of speech. They were using, Parliament Funkadelic. They were using other forms of music. In your early years as a producer, what did that sound? How did that shape you in production? And what were you hearing from the background of that music?
If you listen to the intro for the show, you can
Mm-hmm.
clearly hear my influence from from a PE standpoint now throughout, because you had the cascading horns, now you had the hard hitting drums, and back then, because I was a fledgling producer, I guess now, so to speak, it opened me up to being able to have that hodgepodge of that collection of sounds that are coming from so many different places, and putting it all together. Now putting that collage together, it was a sonic collage what we heard. And prior to that, you didn't really have that. For the most part, you had mantronics, but this was just something that was from a totally different level when it came to production. I would say it was the anti Marley Marl, because Marley Marl,
Definitely.
that's not a diss at all to Marley Marl, but what they were doing, they were putting so many items together from a sonic standpoint, sampling. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they may or may not be in key, but
Right.
I think that the way that they made the music spoke as much as the lyrics from Chuck D, and from a lesser degree from Flavor Flav and Professor Griff, what they were saying. So the music spoke as much, or maybe even a little bit more, just because the music gave you it was a sense of urgency when you talk about the BPMs being in that 100 plus range. That music was not meant for us to be dancing at Odell's.
Right.
That
Right.
was
You
not
were
that
putting
was
that
not
on at O's.
no, no, you're not putting that at Odell's. It's just not going to happen now. But
Right.
it gave us a sense of urgency that, this man on this microphone has something to say, and you need to pay attention to what he's saying. So the music played an integral part, and it definitely influenced me, because it showed myself, it showed my production partner, um, something different, as far as just finding different records, trying to layer them, put them together,
Mm-hmm.
and make a sonic bed for our MC speech and everything. Now, just to try to put together some good music that told some truth and everything. Now, so yeah, I absolutely love the production from the Bomb Squad.
Yeah, definitely. It was like, and I wrote in my notes, it was like this album was presented as a live show, like it was a
Hmm.
live chaos. I was reading something in one of the books I have. It was Check the Technique by Brian Coleman. And
Hmm.
Chuck was talking about how the album was also the the first rap album that didn't go cut to cut. It had stuff between songs to make it all stick together like glue.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it wasn't like a classic album where, you had a song and then, you had a little break and went into the next song. All these songs were kind of put together like it was one conscious stream. As a matter of fact, they released I guess we can call it a concert movie with this in a sense. It
Mm-hmm.
was, I think it was "Bring the Noise" was the name of it. I have the videotape around here somewhere.
Were
I
they
was
in
with
London?
PE. Yeah,
Were
they
they?
were in London.
They
It
were
was
in London.
London.
Yeah.
I think they had a piece of. They might have been in Long Island. It was, they took pieces of the tour and put it
Mm-hmm.
together, and they narrated it like they took over a public television station, like Flavor
Mm-hmm.
Flav and the S1Ws came in, took over the public radio station, and they were playing, the propaganda of PE.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it was concert pieces, it was pieces of the video, it was pieces of them just in London on tour, all of those different things. And so the way that they presented it, it was like live chaos. Like this is like really
Mm-hmm.
a revolution going on. Now, before we talk a little bit more about the album, man, let's go ahead and talk about some albums that came out in '88. I'm gonna run down the list real quick.
Woo.
Too Short, Life's Too Short. Too Short came out in '88.
Mm-hmm.
Ghetto Boys, Making Trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Bismarcky, Going Off.
Going off.
DJ, yeah, that Bismarck is going off.
Going off.
Yeah, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. He's the DJ. I'm the rapper. That's the
Mm-hmm.
first rap album to win a Grammy. As a matter of fact, you mentioned Mantronics in Full Effect. That came out. BDP, Boogie Down Productions, By All Means Necessary. That's a class.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it really was hard for me to pick these 5 albums because we could also take time to talk about By All Means Necessary. That, I think,
Exactly.
lyrically, if there is an album that's also set another lyrical standard, it is that album. I
Mm-hmm.
remember listening to that album, stopping that album in mid song. Yo, put that back.
What
What
did
did
he
he
just
just
say?
say?
Exactly. What did he just say?
Yeah, we would. This was in 1988. Was the era of stop it right there, run it back, so we can hear
Mm-hmm.
what this person just said. So you got
Mm-hmm.
By All Means Necessary, MC Light, Light as a Rock, came out. Run DMC, Tougher Than Leather.
Mm-hmm.
This album, I think this was a underrated classic. Dougie Fresh and the Get Fresh crew, the world's greatest
The
entertainer.
world greatest
Uh,
entertainer.
all the way to heaven, 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 all the way.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
trying to think what was out. I'm sorry. Let me click on this. Let me see what was on that album. You
There's so
had
many joints
keep,
on there.
yeah, keep on rising to the top.
Mm-hmm.
Cut that zero. Get with this hero. You had that joint on there. Yeah, you know he was doing the Dougie dance. Come on
Yes, sir.
now. Yeah, on the strength. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was a great album. Let's see, Audio 2, What More Can I Say? And that's I
Mm-hmm.
got top billing on it. EPMD, Strictly Business.
Mm-hmm.
JJ Fad, Supersonic.
Mm-hmm.
Stetsasonic, the first hip hop band in full gear.
Shout out to
I think,
Daddy-O.
yeah, shout out to Daddy O. You produced Daddy O. I think we got Sally's on this.
Mm-hmm.
Talking all that jazz is on this. Yeah, that was a great album. Let's see. Eric B. and Rakim, Follow the Leader. Now, this was a great album as well. As a matter of fact, that song Follow the Leader, I mean, it was so cryptic, as in, look,
It was so layered and so dense now. That album right there to me is top 5 most lyrical albums ever. Ever.
yes,
Like to this
yes.
day, there's nothing really that I can really point, off the top of the head that's better than that album lyrically now. That he was in the stratosphere when it came to that album.
Most definitely. Followed the Leader, Microphone Fiend, Lyrics of Fury. Those are the first 3 songs.
Yes, sir.
So and the R is on this. And so yeah, he definitely went in the bag for this. Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, It Takes Two. Salt and Pepper, Assault with a
Start with a deadly weapon. Yes, sir.
classics on that album and
Mm-hmm.
having some hits on that. Let's see. Let's go back to our list. Two Live Crew, Move Something.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend. He loved Two Live Crew. I used to be like, that is the most ghettoist thing that this was the album cover where I think they're in the hot tub. Yeah, there's a woman standing over him. This was before
Mm-hmm.
uh it was this crew. Oh, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Swass. My
Mm-hmm.
posse's on Broadway.
This is on Broadway.
My posse's on Broadway. Giddy up.
Mm, mm,
We'll
mm.
just go to Dick's. Yeah, yeah, a lot of people, they only talk about I like big butts. My baby got back. And that's a great song. But
Mm-mm.
Posse on Broadway, bro,
Mm-hmm.
bro, that was the hit right there.
Exactly.
Shine here came out with Unity. That was a nice
Oh,
little
I forgot all about
reggae.
that album
Yeah,
right
forgot
there.
about that. That was a nice little reggae rap mix. Ice T came out with Power.
Uh,
I think this is the
with the
album that
album
LO.
cover with Darlene on.
Yeah,
Woo!
holding
Yes.
holding the gat. This is the album that LL say he ran to the bathroom with some cocoa butter on when he saw Darlene on it.
Oh my
Steady B,
God.
let the hustlers play.
Oh my
Uh,
God. Yes, sir.
you
Mm.
mentioned Marley Marl in Control Volume 1 with the probably the greatest posse cut ever made, the Symphony,
Mm-hmm.
with Master Ace, Craig G, Cool G Rap, and Big Daddy Kane on
Mm.
that. I had a couple other little bangers on that. Ultramagnetic MCs, Critical Beatdown. Here's another album. Didn't get
Another.
played on the radio. Really, this was just for the tape decks. This was for the Jeeps. Pretty much, this is something your maybe your roommate had in the dorm that nobody really knew about. This album right here, Cool Keith said G,
It was
great
underrated.
album,
Underrated, but
very
it was very
underrated.
influential now because that off kilter flow that Cool Keith and Said G kind of perfected.
Right.
You saw that a few years later in like an organized confusion and everything now. So that album right there, the Said G production aspect. Now he was one of the few people that probably was using the SP 1200 from a production standpoint when it came to the beat making. And I think there's a connection with Said G and Karis One and BDP
Yes.
when it came to the production aspect now. So yeah, everything 1988 was just lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a couple more. MC Hammer, let's get it started. We give Hammer a lot of flack, but that
Mm,
this album was it. Turn his mother out. Let's get it started. Uh, they
yeah,
put me in the mix. Hammer, Hammer. They put me in the
exactly.
mix. This
Yeah,
is before he kind of, went for the commercial piece, but that album was pretty nice.
no,
Kid
no,
and
it was.
Play, Kid and Play, Too Hype. This was,
Mm,
I think, probably we could say this album led to them getting the movie um, House
House
Party.
Party.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
rolling with Kid and Play, Getting
Mm-hmm.
Funky, which was one of the most
Dope
slamming videos, dope videos
ever.
ever, ever.
Me and my
YouTube that.
boy would be in the club back then. We were going to it was a club on I think on Charles Street. It was Godfrey's. It was right off of
Uh-huh.
and we went there and the DJ threw it on. We up there doing the kicks, we doing the two step, we
Yeah.
doing the Kid and Play in the club. But I
Yeah,
love that.
man.
I love
That
that.
video was great. And probably this is probably I think I won't say it's underrated because most people love this album, The Great Adventures of Slick Rick.
Oh my lord. Oh my lord.
This came,
So
all these albums came out in 88. I haven't
how
even got to the bottom yet. It's at least about 3 or 4 more
no.
bangers on this
I'm
list
looking at the
that I
list.
even
Like,
mentioned.
there's some joints on there that you did not mention now, like
That I didn't mention.
MC Shan, uh,
Yes.
Ronnie O and Joe Cooley, which I loved it because that was a DJ album right there. Now, so it was so many joints that dropped that year. The Jungle Brothers.
Oh yeah, Straight Out the Jungle. I love that
Mm-hmm.
album. That introduced us to Tip, and that whole thing. I think Black is Black on that album.
Yep.
Uh, Three
Three
Times Dope.
times dope.
Now I skipped over this. Easy E and Easy Does It. There once was a boy from around the way.
Mm-hmm.
Easy.
They're still sampling that to this day. To
Yeah,
this day.
man.
Exactly now.
That was some great let's see, Masters of Ceremony. That was our
Mm-hmm.
boy Pooba was in that
Grand
group.
Poobah. Yep.
Sweet Tea, it's
Love
Tea
them.
Time, Skinny
Exactly.
Boys,
Yep.
original concept. That was with the New York Dr. Dre, who
The other
hosted Yo
Dr.
MTV.
Dre.
Yeah, the other Dr. Dre, who hosted co-hosted Yo MTV Raps with Ed Lover. Chubb
Mm-hmm.
Rock, come on, man. Caught Up is on this one. Chubb Rock featuring Harry T.
Mm-hmm.
Rhyme,
I'm
women.
I want to see him. He's actually going to be performing down here. I heard it on the radio. He's going to be at a old school party that they're having in Kinston, North Carolina. And Kinston is like an hour, 15 minutes from here. But
Okay.
I have to DJ that evening, so I don't think I'm going to be able to catch him. But I
Oh
want to
wow.
see Chubb Rock. I've really never seen him live, but I've always wanted to see him because he was such a dope MC, and he made it
Yes.
cool to be intelligent as an MC.
Right. The one, that album. Woo!
Rest
That
in peace.
album.
Rest in
Rest
peace,
in peace,
Howard T.
Howard T.
Mm,
Yeah, that you talk about some product Howie T. We don't talk about Howie T enough. We
no,
even got our boys, the New Marks, on here. Baltimore. Our time
I
has
got
come.
that album. I got the album. It's in my
Wow.
crate somewhere over here now. But yeah, I got a little bit of a backstory with the new marks and everything now because the guy that did the production for the girl, you know it's true. Bill
Mm-hmm.
Petaway, he was from Annapolis, and because I
Okay.
would be in Annapolis a lot, he um he worked at a gas station in Annapolis. So, I would see him there. I would talk to him about music, and I tried to buy an SP 1200 from him years and years ago. And he said he was going to sell it to me for like 500, $700. I never bought it from him though. So
Oh,
that was my connection with that. But then also
right.
with DJ Spin with Sean,
Sure.
I worked in the call center with him years ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
I
think one of
went
the
to
other guys was also in the call center. I don't know if it was I don't know if it wasn't Kevin Lyles, but it was someone else. I don't know if it was Cool Rod or it was somebody else, but I know for
right.
sure that Sean was in the call center with me. Either he was like a lead or he was a supervisor in that call center at the time.
Yeah, I went to middle school and a couple years of high school with all of them. We all went to Catholic school, and so Cool
Mm-hmm.
Rod, Wayne Mallory,
Mm-hmm.
Spin. As a matter of fact, Spin's brother's a deacon at the church, and so yeah, so Deacon Spencer. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a whole lot of connect there. And then you had the "I'm Going to Get You Sucker" soundtrack. You had Jack of Spades on that.
Jack of Spades.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
88 was a great hip hop year. I mean, I think it stands the test of time against most particular years. So let me put something up real quick. I'm going to share
I mean, I still
something.
get excited just talking about it right now. It brings back so many memories of what me and my crew were doing in '88 and everything now. And I was just, I can reminisce and I just think about just, the influence that PE really had on us, in a totality standpoint now, as far as not only my crew, but you saw other like minded individuals that were also influenced wearing the medallions, wearing
Yes,
the stopwatches back in the day because I had a whole collection of different colored stopwatches that I would pick up
yes.
at Small Dorman, and that was because of
Brothers was
Flavor
wearing
Flav.
clocks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that was the Flavor Flav influence. Now, think about that right now. If
Right.
somebody
Flavor
walked
had
around
people
with a
wearing
big old
clocks.
clock on their chest, you probably would look at them a little weird. But back then, we made it fashionable. We really did.
Yes. Yeah, Flav had us doing some stuff. Chuck had us. It was like people begin to think differently. I would say, Chris, in terms of like I'd had some maybe some minor political thought, but not a lot. I can't say I really understood what the politic meant and what black empowerment or thinking from a black consciousness paradigm meant. But this music and then what flowed after that, because it changed everybody, even Big Daddy Kane, even the pimps became Afrocentric and conscious. You know,
Exactly.
for everybody was hood, you kind of were gangster. And then from maybe 88 for the next year and some change, you was a soul brother. You was, black medallion. You had the P on. As a matter of fact, man, I got a picture here of myself. They can't really say it, but it's me in my black medallion taking my ID school picture at
Mm.
Hampton. I ain't smiling. I'm super serious. By
Mm-hmm.
that time, I was just all about, if we throw over the country, call Chuck D, see what we. But these guys are entertainers. I don't know if they go join the revolution, but it put so many people onto a different train of thought. Let me listen to Farrakhan. Let me read A Final Call. Let me learn for myself. And so it really, I think it shaped a lot of Black political thought.
It really
I
did.
know one thing for myself being exposed to Malcolm and understanding that, we have to take a part of the political process. As a matter of fact, it's so crazy because a lot of times it also taught me the other side that we have this myopic viewpoint that was given to us by mainstream media and by I would say Americanism of history of them editing the story. A lot of times we thought these groups were all they wanted to do was kill people, Panthers, have guns and all this stuff. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't know they were feeding people, that they
Exactly.
were
Free
organizing,
breakfast.
they were trying to instruct people on how to vote. Hey, register as independent. That way you can control who you want to vote for and build political party, and let's identify candidates that support what we want to do. They weren't telling people stay home from the polls. They would,
Oh,
Malcolm was saying it's the ballot or the bullet.
exactly.
He wasn't telling people to sit out like Killer Mike and Ice Cube and all these other people. He was telling people go to the polls.
Go
And
to the
so,
polls and make your voice heard now.
right, you won't know that unless you were exposed to the material. And I think PE, because we were getting it straight from the source, we were not getting it through a teacher, we were not getting it through curriculum. That made it more palatable and binding with who we
Mm-hmm.
became. And so looking at the cuts on this album, you had the silver side and you had the black side. And
To the
so on the
black
silver
side.
side, you had Countdown to Armageddon, which was kind of like an instrumental. We mentioned Bring the Noise, Don't Believe the Hype, Cold Lamping with Flavor. Each
Mm-hmm.
album, they have a flavor cut. Terminator X to the Edge of Panic. That's kind of like the DJ cut. You still were getting the
Mm-hmm.
DJ cut on the album. Mind Terrorist, Louder Than a Bomb, which was a good song. That's a deep cut on there. And Caught Can I Get a Witness, another deep cut on that album. On the black side, you had Show 'Em What You Got, was like, kind of like an intro cut up of that. She Watched Channel Zero, which was very good. Song about,
Mm-hmm.
how media is taking over our brains being washed by an actor.
Mm-hmm.
With her brain being washed by an actor.
Exactly.
Yes. Night of the Living Bassheads. Now, this was their
Mm-hmm.
first video. Night of the Living Bassheads, shot at the Audubon Ballroom, where Malcolm X was assassinated. Um, we got MC Light in there. They shaped it as a PETV, but
Mm-hmm.
they're there. You have all of these. This is the explosion of the crack era. He sold his bass to fill his pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're walking around the place. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great song. Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos.
Oh
Now,
my,
that
that
was
was
the
my song.
ultimate.
That was it.
Yes, I think every rapper in America was in that video, shot in local prison. They
Mm-hmm.
breaking out of prison. This the break, my bluest blew up. And to my surprise, the water tower blew up. Yeah,
Exactly. Mm.
yes, man. Security of the First World. I believe that Madonna, whoever produced that
She
song, was
sampled it
that?
for
Yeah,
"Justify My
Sam.
Love."
Justify My Love. Yeah, that's right. I
Mm-hmm.
think Lenny Kravitz produced that song. And so
Mm-hmm.
they sampled that. Rebel Without a Pause, great song. Prophets of Rage, and Party
Mm-hmm.
for Your Right to Fight. Uh, I think not only were these great songs, I mean, of course, there's a couple skips on here, but the photography, I don't know if you could really see it. And I had to admit, we was on some substances back in '88, and so you were really searching for stuff on these albums.
Mm-hmm.
And when we looked at this back shot on the back cover of the album, if you look hard enough, they're standing on the American flag.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't think a lot of people got that, but this was so revolutionary, from the cover art to the songs to the samples to everything. It definitely set the bar high.
Set it extremely high,
Extremely
man. And
high.
you can see the lineage of that album to Kendrick Lamar right now, as far as the
Sure.
militancy and the visualization of the lyrics and everything, and with his performances. So you definitely see that lineage. And also with Public Enemy, they spawned so many groups, maybe not as political, but they were still out there making a difference all the same, be it
Right.
X Clan or Poor Righteous Teachers.
Sure.
There's so many different groups now that after that album came out, even if you were talking about, being fly or chasing the girls, somebody had at least one political cut on their album or what have you
Right.
now. So
Right.
that influence, it definitely spanned, decades.
Paris, Def Jeff.
Oh my
Album.
God, yes. And I
Yeah.
was the biggest Def Jam. I probably am the only person that can say I was a big Def Jam fan. I just thought that he was so dope, and with the twist in his hair and
Yes.
the medallion. But I dissected the flows and the way that he constructed his lyrics, and I said even though Def Jam was on the West Coast, you could tell he was from New York, and he
Sure.
just took it to the West Coast. And then also with PE and with their production, without this album, we would not have seen that side of Ice Cube. Ice Cube would not be in the position he is right now. That
Yeah, because Bomb Squad definitely, I mean, Bomb Squad produced part of Great Adventures of Slick Rick. You got Ice
and I
Cube.
forgot that. You're right.
Yeah, you got Ice Cube, Son of Berserk.
Son of Berserk.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and as we get years later, Leaders of the New School gave
Leaders of the
them their
new
name,
school, young black
Young Black
teenagers.
Teenagers. Daddy called me nigga because of the way that yeah, that's a lot of people slept on that first Young Black Teenagers album. That Young Black Teenage
Mm-hmm.
first album was pretty nice. But yeah,
Exactly.
so you had Young Black Teenagers. Yeah, you had. I mean, Terminator X had an album, Buck Wildin'.
That Buck
You had,
Wild joint.
yeah, you had a
Mm-hmm.
couple of joints. So yeah, PE was definitely in terms of expanding, in terms of not only as a group but as a production crew as well with the Bomb Squad. And so, Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, man, probably, like I said, in my opinion, greatest rap album ever, and definitely something that influences those groups, at least coming after us, in terms of putting a political viewpoint and taking a stance in the music. We start to look at hip hop as just more than having fun. We also seeing it as something that can be used as a basis for political movement as well, and political
Exactly.
thought. And so we have to say, a lot of political paradigms were shaped by that album.
Exactly.
Next week, man, we're going to get into the Daisy Age, and so where Afrocentricity is coming out of this. We got the Black Power movement coming out of this, but we also get another valve of creativity that springs forth out of this. It has, a nature of the Afrocentricity, but it's just very different. It's different. It's dope. It's deaf. It's a little weird. It's something that it's a new way of talk. It's a new way of speak. And so we're going to get
Mm-hmm.
into the Daisy Age and the expansion of rap in terms of the native tongue movement. And so next week we're going to talk about 3 Feet High and Rising, the impact of that album, not only lyrically but sample wise as well. And so this album probably starts to, record companies start pay attention
Mhm.
as rap is getting bigger and bigger. So we get, explosion of Yo MTV Raps. It's getting into the mainstream. Now these record labels are starting to go, hey, hold up. This music's making money, and we own the publishing to some of these songs, a lot of these songs that these guys are using. And so we start to see also kind of that censorship from the major labels in terms of coming to get that publishing money. And so next
Mhm.
week, we're going to talk about the Daisy Age, y'all, the inner sound, y'all, with 3 Feet High and Rising. You got any closing words, brother?
Man, it's been, man, an honor and a pleasure just to discuss something that's near and dear to my heart now. And I hope that the audience, those that are either listening or watching this, are going to get a few gems, and it'll allow them to maybe go back and maybe revisit the album. Or if you never listened, because this may reach a younger generation, go ahead and check that out, because it takes a nation of millions. It influenced so many individuals from a political standpoint, an educational standpoint, a cultural standpoint. Without that album, you know, 1996 and the Million Man March probably would not have occurred
Come on. Come
at
on.
all now. And I met so many positive brothers. That's probably one of the most influential days I've ever had in my life, and I can attribute that to the influence of It Takes a Nation of Millions. So, salute to Chuck D, salute to the Bomb Squad, salute to Terminator X, who actually lives here in North Carolina now. I actually met
Yes.
him. He's in Durham, as a matter of fact. Now he
Okay.
DJs and everything now. So,
He has a podcast as well. I've been seeing a couple episodes of
yeah,
that being advertised. Yeah.
exactly. Now, just the entire crew, and that umbrella that Chuck D, and he's still very powerful right now from a media standpoint. There's
Definitely.
another podcast, it's CDOC now, that I go to every once in a while. I think that's on Tuesday evenings. And check
Hmm.
that out. I guess it's a shameless plug, but Chuck is on there a lot now, just discussing, just artists from either the golden era, or just artists right now that are making noise, but they're not mainstream, they're underground. So it's all about giving flowers, and I want to make sure that we provide those flowers for the entire Public Enemy camp, because they've influenced my thought pattern and yours as well. And that's all I can say right now. That's all I can
Yeah, definitely. I would say that we probably don't even get the term new school, because they name these groups in the album shout outs, these liner notes. We don't get liner notes anybody anymore. We used to get these liner notes. And I think
say.
PE probably started the liner note craze in hip hop music. They gave so many shout outs, so many groups, big ups, that people were going to listen to these groups because they were mentioned on the PE liner notes. And so, yeah, man, Chuck has always been an advocate for the music and so in the
Hmm.
culture. And so we definitely appreciate that, man. And so definitely everybody, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for taking a listen.
This was
Share,
an All Things
love,
Black
like.
with Calvin and Garland production.
We look forward to
The
seeing y'all
original
next
music
week.
used in this podcast was produced and used by permission from B.I.G Wisdom Beats. Thank you for listening, and make sure to follow us on your podcast platforms.
Yeah, bro. Another in the can.
Yes, sir. Two for two.
Two
Two
for
for
two.
two. Yes, sir.
Bro, have a great weekend. Be safe. I look forward to seeing you next week.
No problem, man. And you and Paula be blessed now. Have safe travels out to Ohio.
Thank you, bro.
All right.